Hey, all my Crimsonites, and welcome to the Crimson Cure channel, where we embrace our femininity, increase our womanly value, and celebrate our brothers. So join me on our feminine journey to learn, heal, and grow. Hey there, my Crimsonites, and welcome to the Crimson Cure channel. I'm your hostess, femininity coach, and author of The Crimson Cure, and this is my perspective. So in keeping with what we've been talking about Black men's leadership, and even his humanity is tied to his income, and is tied to his pocket, and it is tied to what he does rather than who he is as a human being and as a man. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to play this clip, and I think it's like 2 or 3 parts, where Iyanla sort of breaks that concept down in an interview that she does with Nick Cannon. And I think it's very important. So without any further ado, we're going to go ahead and let this play out. Here we go.
These crimes perpetuated against Black men specifically is the level to which their humanity and their hearts have been devalued, diminished, and dehumanized, and that they have become doing machines. The greatest value a Black man has, in many instances, is what he can do for somebody. Right. And how he can do it, and how much he can do it, and how much he earns doing it. I mean, I hear it and see it among young people in the relationships. You know, oh, you're gonna get my nails done, and you're gonna do this, and you're gonna do that. Right. You know, they've been demeaned and devalued and dehearted, right, to the point where they value themselves based on what they can do. Fix it, get it, make it happen. And no place have I seen in our world does anybody tell Black men the greatest crime how to be. How to be with themselves, how to be true to themselves, how to be with their feelings, how to be with their heart, you know, and it's criminal. So what happens is then they begin to do the things that are expected of them, and that's how they're evaluated. And then if they can't do that anymore, whether it's the job or pay the mortgage or whatever, then they're just cast off like socks in the corner. Right. Right. And it happens to Black women also, but usually because of the children in our care, we're given a little more leeway. But the way it's done for Black men, and as I shared with you, one of the things my teacher taught me was one of the greatest kryptonites for a man in general, Black men specifically, is the feeling, the belief in how to be, the treatment that he is somehow inadequate. And when you devalue a man, he's going to feel inadequate. When you dehumanize him, when you deheart him, so then where does he go with that? Right. He's inadequate, and he doesn't serve a purpose because he can't do what you need him to do to make you feel better about yourself. What's the purpose? What's the point? What's the point? And that's why we have these incredible rises in suicide. Yeah. I personally think it's why we have this, and I don't know the figures, I don't know what they are now, but the increase between, I think it was 2017 and 2021, a 30-something% increase in the number of Black men with prostate cancer, starting early. And why? Because their manhood is under attack. Right. And, you know, their psyche is not nourishing and nurturing them, and their masculinity. Because where in the world do the treatment that he is somehow inadequate?
Now, it was a mouthful. I wanted to play it in its completion because she said a lot in this clip, and all of it is pretty much true. And I've spoke on this before years ago. I've been speaking on this for years, how Black women are included in the group of people that don't see Black men as necessarily human beings that have a full scope of emotion, that are humans aside from what they are able to do. They're humans because they exist as a human being. They see themselves that way. Women see themselves that way. Well, we are human and have our humanity because we exist. So we don't have to do anything. in order to be respected as a human and be regarded as human, and given all of the allowances and all of the grace that a human would be given for making mistakes and for having faults and flaws and not being perfect and all of those sorts of things. However, Black men do not get that grace from any corner of the world, from any demographic of people. See, at one point you probably could have made an argument that it was just so-called white America that treated Black men as a subhuman species, there only to do work. His value is only in the strength of his arm. His value is only in the strength of his back. His value is only in his physical prowess, including his sexual prowess as well. And so that if he lacked these things, he was no longer valuable, because he wasn't valuable on the plantation outside of it. He wasn't valued for his mind, right? And even if he was valued for his mind, only in so much in the capacity that it served the master. He wasn't able to fully express it. He was only able to express his intelligence as it served his master. And one cultural example of that is the character Stephen in Django. When we first are introduced to Stephen, he is the quintessential house Negro, even in the way that he spoke. But once we saw him in the first scene that we saw him with Calvin one-on-one, then we got to see Stephen as an intelligent, that basically Stephen was running that plantation. It was his system, order, and structure that was running it, right? But only in so much he was only allowed to do that in so much as it served Calvin, right? But that's no longer a valid argument that only the so-called white power structure sees Black men as that. Black women see Black men that way as well, down to our modern take on what men are supposed to do. He's got to spend X amount of money. He's got to make X amount of money. He's got to get my nails and hair and pay for my life upon meeting me. That's the entry fee. This isn't something she's expecting husband things, provisions. She's expecting a man to give her the 4 P's just for looking at her or speaking to her or contacting her to begin with. So this is what we're talking about, the dehumanization of Black men based on him being a beast of burden. Like he's got to do. He's got to do, and he's got to do it, and he's got to do it perfectly, and he's got to do it without fail, and he's got to do it day in and day out, and he can't come up short for any reason, whether those reasons are within his control or outside of his control. He can't come up short on the doing, or else he's discarded, and he's not valuable, and he's not worth anything. He's not worthy. And that in and of itself is a dehumanization, because we do inanimate objects like that. Once something stopped working, we don't care about that thing no more. If some electronic or TV or your phone or something like that, as much as you're attached to your phone, let your phone stop working and see how quick you are ready to replace it with another phone, a better phone, or whatever. No matter how attached you were to it, you were only attached to the phone because it was doing what you wanted it to do. And the moment that it doesn't do that, no matter how well it served you for the past 2-3 years, whatever, the moment it don't connect right, the moment it don't turn on right, the moment you can't listen to or look at or get an app or whatever it is you're trying to do with that phone, it is useless. Immediately it's useless. This is the same thought pattern that Black women employ with Black men. He's useless unless he's paying for something. He's useless unless he's making me feel a certain type of way. He's useless unless he's covering up my inadequacies and my insecurities, and he's addressing those things for me, be things that I won't even address for myself. And unless he's able to fully come into my life and do whatever it is that I want him to do all the time, 100% of the time, without stumbling, the moment he stumbles, I'm gone. The moment We just covered that with the woman that stole $47,000 from her husband. The moment he was unable to actually just do what she was accustomed to him to do, she was done with it. It's so much so that she didn't even help him when the chips were down, because it's not like that, because he's an animal. He's an inanimate object. It is a dehumanization. That's why Black men are so feel so disrespected by it, because it is not only a disregard of his manhood and his masculinity, it's a disregard of his humanity also. The tying of his humanity to his pocket and to his ability to do, that's the very definition of dehumanizing somebody. Breaking them down only to what you want, only to what you need, only to what you can get out of it, out of him. And the moment you can't get that out of him, whether that be kids out of him, money out of him, attention out of him, sex out of him, whatever it is you want to get out of him, the moment he refuses to provide it, or he can't provide it, or he doesn't want to provide it, or whatever the case may be, he's done. He's done in your eyes. So I want the conversation to continue. Jump down in the comment section. Let me know what you think. Like, share, subscribe to the channel if you have not. Once again, I'm your hostess, The Crimson Cure, and this was my perspective. Bye-bye, Crimsonites.